Hey there, folks, I got a treat for you. I'm in front of a vintage automobile, and I'm with one of the drivers, and say I've said co-owners of this particular car, but I met this guy about 2 years ago here at the castle, and he had a convertible. Let me introduce you. Turn this around so you can be introduced to you guys. How you doing, buddy?
Doing fine, thank you.
If I'm not mistaken, it's Vince Scully, right?
Vince Scully, I came back from the dead to should be at this car show today.
Okay. Tell me, what did you bring today to the castle?
It's a 1933 Lincoln sedan, a full resto mod, perfectly drivable. Everything you see is old. All mechanics are new. Corvette motor, independent suspension. Gets driven daily. Goes down the freeway just right, and surprises a lot of Corvettes at stoplights. I'll tell you, this thing jumps. Lincolns were aluminum back then, so it's not that heavy. It's for big cars, 4,300 pounds, which is less than most modern SUVs. And it's got a lot of horsepower, and it's got a GMC truck transmission, so has a big first gear. Comes off the stoplight really fast. If the car next to me is giving me any flack, I go, bye.
So you're telling me the frame is not Detroit steel?
The frame is steel. The body, the fenders are also steel.
Okay.
But the body, everything from the frame up is aluminum.
Oh, okay. Well, who the heck made those? Aluminum.
Actually a lot of car makers did back then. Aluminum is cheaper to work with, especially for a low volume car, like a luxury car during the Great Depression. In 1933, people weren't buying a lot of Lincolns and Cadillacs. But you still had to offer every model. You had to have coupes, sedans, Phaeton, limousines, all this stuff. And to make a 10-foot steel die to stamp these things out, forget it. When you only got to make a couple hundred a year.
Right.
So they would make them by hand with aluminum. It's easy to work. The bodies on all the cars back then had a wood frame, and you just make an aluminum panel, nail it onto the wood,
And beat into shape.
You got the shape mostly. You had these shaping wheels on desks, on desks.
English wheels.
Whatever you call them.
Okay, I got you.
And then they'd have to weld it together and stuff. But that's what they did.
No kidding. Now, this particular car, what is it, 25 feet long?
No, this one is a little under 18 feet. This was the smallest car Lincoln made that year. This is the model KA. KB is another foot long.
All right, folks, as he's talking, I'm going to turn this around so you can see what he's talking about. I hear you. Go ahead.
And this car, anybody out there in their 60s or older has probably seen this car before. This was the gangster's car on a very popular TV show called The Untouchables, which ran for about 10 years in the 60s. And if you get a Netflix story of Vincent Magdalene Cole, this car's in it. I bought it, and there it is, bouncing down the road with a gangster shooting a Thompson submachine gun on a running board.
So we got two pieces of history. We got you, Vince Scully, and then we got the old Lincoln that was in the movies. I'll be doggone. So it's a 2-for-1 deal today.
And for the price of one, you're lucky.
So when I saw you last time, you're always dressed in the right era of garb that you have on. Explain what you got on.
Well, it's actually not the right gear. Well, the chauffeurs in the 30s did wear tunics similar to this. This hat is actually a modern policeman's hat with steampunk goggles, which of course nobody driving would wear because it's tunnel vision. You have no side vision at all.
Okay.
And boots. The boots went out with the chauffeur. Whoa! The boots went out with the chauffeurs. We're in the mid-20s. They had to wear boots because they used to change all the crappy tires. But by the mid-20s, the tires got pretty good, and they didn't need to get down in the mud and change tires so much.
Is that why I didn't know that was the history of the boots and the chauffeurs?
Yeah,
It's the history, man. Thank you for that.
that's history.
I didn't
A
know.
lot of history in these cars.
Okay. Now, your brother must have a large collection of old vintage automobiles, huh? No?
He did have about 20, mostly 50s cars, 60s cars, and they were scattered all across town in Marin County where he lived. And I'm going to drive one day. Well, it doesn't work with old cars. And he would go and open up the storage locker that was in, and the battery was dead, or this was wrong, or that was wrong. Finally got all ticked off one day when the last one would start and sold them all. And for years I bugged him. I said, why don't you pick any old car you love, and we'll take it to this hot rod shop that I know, and they won't touch the outside, but they'll make it all modern mechanically, and you can drive it daily. And he wouldn't do it. And finally I said, do it, and I'll be your project manager. The next day he called me up and said, sure, yeah, no problem, let's do it. I was always afraid of it, didn't know how to do it. So I supervised the build, it was a lot of fun. This car cost $450,000.
Is that right?
The paint job alone was $70. Chrome plating was $35. It ain't cheap.
But it's a beautiful representation of what America used to put out.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
Yeah, yeah. And too bad they can't get back to that style of.
Well, you don't want to make this style of car because this thing has the aerodynamics of a barn.
No, but the perfection, like the steel, the right steel.
Yeah,
you know. Yeah.
There was
that's
no
what I'm
plastic
talking
on this car.
Right. Beautiful. And the wood. Now, what is that?
It actually is not wood. This car, because it's driven daily, it commutes to work and sits in a hot parking lot for 8 hours.
Oh, okay.
So the wood would.
It would crack that wood.
So this is epoxy with a wood silk screen.
Okay. Okay.
It's not running good at it. You can see it fools everybody. They think it's wood.
Beautiful, man. Real beautiful. And the other one is in that area, Marin County, sitting right now.
All right, well, he's taking it back to the Hamptons right now. We've got to find out.
Not bad.
Yes, in East Hampton, I'll tell you, that's the Great Gatsby. That's what it looks like. He drives that car around, oh boy, they all come out of the woodwork. Everybody lines up to sit up.
Well, good for you, man. Well, Vince, it's been a pleasure talking with you once again. You've always had history for the channel, Gotcha Racing TV, and I appreciate you giving me your 5 minutes worth of your time.
No, I'm cheap.
So folks, Vince Scully is Marin County, and he has his hands on these perfect representation of what America used to put out between he and his brother. I want to thank you very much for giving me your time.
Hey, my pleasure.
Gotcha Racing TV, Joe Britton, we're out.